Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm B, and in today's video, we're going to talk all things begonia. What I have recently heard in the plant community is that there are a few of us who are growing begonias and we're doing quite well. We have a few in our collection and they're growing nicely for us. But then there are others of you who have not yet taken the step to add some to your collection. So in today's video, I want to help you rethink adding begonias to your collection. They're not fussy, they're not high maintenance, and I think that you'll be able to grow them in your collection with a few tips and secrets that I'm going to share with you today. So are you ready? Green thumbs up, let's go. Before we even begin, I have two begonias that I'm going to share with you today. These are two that I have grown in my collection and they're doing quite well. When we look at the first one, this is Begonia Amphioxus. And when you look at her, her leaves are actually beautiful. They're thin. She's better known as a cane begonia because canes grow kind of strappy and they actually need some support to help them stand up. Now, currently, she is blooming. So she's doing quite well for it to be winter time here. And she even has a growth that's growing. Here are more blooms that you can see. So she's growing quite well, and we're going to get to exactly why she's growing so beautifully for me in my collections. The next begonia I'm going to share with you is the Begonia Massioniana. I have shared her with you on my channel before. She is growing and has grown so well for me. We're going to talk about her leaves because her leaves are hairy. But the most astonishing part is that she has a lot of new growth. Look at all those leaves inside the pot. She's growing quite well. And so I have chosen to share these two with you because it just gives me a little qualification that I can help you get to where you probably want to go. So let's start with exactly how these begonias grow. There are three ways that begonias grow. One of the ways that they grow, like this Amphioxus here, is they grow fibrous. So they have fibrous type roots, which means the roots are very thin, they're thread-like, and they just fan out underneath the soil to help anchor the plant. Now, what's so important about a fibrous type begonia is that when you overwater it, right, that root will definitely take up too much water and will become mushy and it will rot. That's one way. The next way is if you let this plant dry out too much, then what'll happen when you water it, it will be too dry. It will definitely not take up any water because it's too dry, and it will have root rot. And so fibrous begonias have thread-like roots, which are very easy to maintain, but you must be careful. The next type of root that begonias have would be more of a bulbous. When I think of a bulb, I think of a potato. I think of something that looks like this, like a bulb. Now, what's so important about a bulb is that the bulb, which would be a tuber, okay, would definitely hold a lot of water. So when you think of bulbs or you think of amaryllis, you don't want to overwater them, because this is where they hold all of their nutrients and their water. So you got to make sure that you do not overwater one that is a bulb. So know what type of begonia you're buying. Okay, now the neat thing about a bulb, okay, is that, or I should say a tuber, the neat thing about a tuber is when they go dormant, because they do go dormant, you take that bulb and you can put it in a bag, okay, a brown paper bag. Put it in a closet, because it's going to be dark and it's going to be cool, and you can overwinter it. You take it out come spring, plant it, and guess what? You'll still have a beautiful begonia. So that's what a tuber will do for you. Now, let's think about a rhizome. A rhizome, which would be this girl here, the Massionic. A rhizome, which I know some of you probably have, is really neat, because what it does, it grows horizontal on the soil. That's what it does. And I'm going to share something with you right here. When we look at this is a stick, but we're going to use it as a rhizome. A rhizome, when you think about it, it runs horizontal on the soil. So you see how it's planted. It kind of reminds me of when you guys say wet stick, okay? It's very similar to a wet stick, but it's real fleshy and it's soft, so you have to make sure you don't overwater it. Now, it has nodes that are underneath, so it will be nodes underneath, okay? And those nodes would develop roots. And then on top would come your plant. So you would have a plant that will grow on top as well. And so you would end up having a plant that will grow horizontally in a pot. Okay? And so that's what's so neat about having a begonia that grows like a rhizome. Okay, it will grow and expand, which is so neat. So if we talk about the root system, or the stem, so to speak, then we must talk about watering. Watering is very important, because if and when we water our plants, okay, if and when we water our plants, we want to make sure that we're not over watering our plants. Let's look at this Begonia Escargot. Okay, let's look at her. She's beautiful. Look at her leaves. Her leaves are absolutely magnificent. Now, she's a fibrous type begonia, right? So let's look at her root system. We'll take her out. Be very gentle with her. And look at her root system. Look at the thin fiber-like roots. And you see how they spread out throughout the soil base. So that is what's helping to anchor her in. Now, when we think about watering her, we want to make sure that we get her evenly watered. We don't want it soggy. We want it evenly watered. Okay, very important. The next tip I have for you would be the soil. But you know what? I want to share something else with you. Let's go back and look at some soil, because I want to share two very important things that I have found in my collection that helps me. One thing that I have found is this moisture meter. I think moisture meters are really helpful not only to new plant moms and dads, but also for anyone who wants to check their soil. I think that's important. Also, I think it's important is this guy here, which is nothing but a craft stick. What I like about a craft stick is I can put the craft stick, now this begonia here is the Begonia Rex Geometry. And let's look at her leaves right quick, because she's a beauty too. And she's blooming. And she has more blooms here that are coming. Okay, so let's look at the soil, just testing the soil, because I want to share this with you. When you put your craft stick in and you put it deep in, and then you take it out, let's see what you notice. You notice that there's soil on the stick. That lets you know this particular begonia does not need to be watered, okay? So that's very important, and that's without using the moisture meter. You can use a craft stick, okay? Now, let's look at the Begonia Escargot. Okay, I'm going to put her in. I'm using not this tip, the other end, and I'm going to put her in. Okay, I'm going to pull her out. Let's look. And it's clean. Two different begonias. One is already nice and moist, and the other one needs to be watered, and that's without using a moisture meter. Get yourself one of these and begin putting the tip in, pulling it out to check your soil. Very, very easy to do, and it's a lot less expensive than a moisture meter, okay? So let's move on. Let's look at the soil, because that's where we were. We were on the soil. So now that we know exactly the kind of root and stem, and we also know how to water our plants and even how to check to see if the plant needs watering, let's talk about the soil. Now, begonias like to stay evenly moist. So therefore, we don't need a soil that is going to be too moisture retentive, nor do we need a soil that is chunky. What we need is a soil that's going to have more soil base than anything that's going to make it chunky. So what I would like to do with you today is make a small batch of soil with us on camera. So let's look and see how we're going to do that. Okay, the first thing I have is my bucket here, or my container, and because I am wanting to make sure I get the exact measurements for begonias, I am going to definitely adhere to every measurement, tip, or ingredient so that I can have it right. So let's look. The first thing we're going to use is our base, which is what? Moisture control potting mix. So this is our base. We're only making a small batch. I'm going to use this container here, which holds about 2 cups. So I'm going to take it, cup here, 1 cup, take it, put it in there. Before I begin with my next ingredient, I want to make sure that I go in and fluff up the soil, because you don't want any chunks. Okay, it's almost like baking a cake. You want to make sure that everything is evenly distributed. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, because we already have our base, we're going to add bark. Okay, this was 2 containers of our soil base, right? We're going to add 1 container of our bark. So let's do that. Because we do not want our soil or our medium to be chunky. We need it to be moisture retentive. But we don't want it to be so thick that it holds too much moisture. So we're going to put that in, and we're going to mix it up because we want it evenly distributed. Okay? So 2 parts soil, 1 part bark. Okay? The next thing we're going to add are our worm castings. So let's add our worm castings. And we're going to add 1 part worm castings. Okay? 1 part worm castings. We're going to take it, we're going to put it in, and we're going to mix it up real well. Because what I'm going to do after my 2 new begonias acclimate a little longer, I'm going to use this mixture for them. Okay? Now, my soil base already had a little perlite. So let's look at it. You can even see the perlite. Okay, you see the bark and of course the soil base. So now what we're going to do is test it to make sure that it is not holding on to too much water once we water our plants. So what you do, you get yourself a handful like so, and open your hands like so. It's fluffy. If you choose to add anything else, I would suggest a tad bit of perlite and a tad bit of charcoal. But that's it, because you want your base to be the soil and you do not want it to be chunky. Okay? So, if you are enjoying this type of video and you're enjoying hanging out with me in the beehive, I would ask you to subscribe to my channel. Not only that, but turn on your notifications so that you'll know when I upload another video, and give me some likes, because guess what? That helps my channel to grow. And you know, I appreciate you so. So let's get started with the next part of growing begonias. So let's look at another very important tip. And that tip, I would say, would be lighting. Lighting is key. When we think about lighting, we want to make sure we give our plant enough light so that that plant can continue to have the dark green leaves that it's supposed to have, and it will bloom. That is so important. If the plant is not getting enough light, that plant is not going to bloom, and the leaves are not going to be the color that they're supposed to be. Okay? So begonias need indirect light. Begonias do not need a lot of sunlight. Okay? Even if you grow begonias outside, which would be those tuber type begonias, they need to be in partial shade. I would even go as far to say you can sit your begonia in the morning sun even inside, so they can get that morning sun, and then take it away from the morning sun by just putting a sheer, drawing your sheer curtain so that it won't get the rest of that afternoon type sun. Okay? So the best lighting is indirect lighting. And so my plants do not sit right near the grow lights. They sit a little a ways away from the grow light, okay? And I have at least 5 grow lights here in the plant room. And sometimes I even use the ceiling light, okay? So that helps the begonias as well. The next tip is humidity. Humidity plays a very important part in growing your begonias. Humidity plays such an important part. Let's look at the escargot, because when we look at our leaves here, we want these leaves to continue to be ruffled and without any brown tips. When your begonia begin to have brown tips, you can rest assured one or two things. Either you're not giving it enough humidity, or you're not giving it enough water. You're not keeping it evenly moist, okay? And so that definitely will dry out the leaves. We do not want that. So humidity in a plant room needs to be at least 50 to 70. If you can get it higher, great for you, but at least 50 to 70% humidity. Now, if you're saying right now, well, I don't have a humidifier, so that's not going to happen, and that's okay. You can always group your plants closely together. So you can group them closely together for them to have humidity. Or you can get yourself a pebble tray. Get yourself a nice size tray, add your pebbles and some water, and just sit it between groups of plants, okay? And that will help with the humidity, okay? Now, when I think about humidity, I also think about the type of begonias that they have. This one here, the Begonia Massioniana, has hairs. And I told you earlier that we were going to get back to the hairs on the begonia. The hairs on the begonia serves multi-purposes. First of all, the hairs help to take up moisture. Okay? The hairs help to take up moisture. Not only do the hairs help to take up moisture, but also the hairs is a deterrent from any pest. Pests do not want to try to walk in and around the hairs on this begonia. Okay? Then it also reflects against the sunlight. So let's say, for instance, I put this begonia in the morning sun. So I set it in my window and it's getting morning sun, and for some reason I just forgot to close the shears before I left. All right? Well, this begonia has this protective mechanism by using its hairs so it will not get sunburned. So that is very, very important. What a beautiful feature we have in this begonia. Okay, let's look at another one. This one here, the Madagascar, and the Escargot Madagascar, has hairy stems. And it also is a hairy begonia. If you can see the hairs. If I tilt it, I think you can see. So the escargot also is hairy. Now, let's look at the Amphioxus. The Amphioxus is not hairy. Remember I told you she is a cane begonia. She's not hairy. So she doesn't have that feature. Her stem is smooth. And when you think about a cane begonia, if you don't want them to get leggy, you must give them ample light. Very, very important. Okay, so we talked about the hairs, we talked about the watering and such, and so I want to take us through each of these begonias one final time. Let's look at this begonia here. She has the features of the hairs on her leaves, the hairs on her stem, and she grows from a rhizome. She needs to stay evenly moist. And she does not need to be watered very much in winter, but just stay evenly moist. Very important, okay? Let's look at the escargot, okay? Let's look how pretty she is. The escargot is a fibrous begonia. Her roots are thin thread-like begonias that spread out to anchor her. She also has hairs on her leaves which help her to take in moisture from the air, and also is a pest deterrent. Her stem is also hairy. I do not have a tuber begonia, but if I did, a tuber begonia would be one that you would need to remove during winter, put it in a brown bag, put it in your closet, keep it nice and cool and dark, take it out come spring, plant it in the ground. It's a tuber, okay? Let's look at the Begonia Amphioxus. It's fibrous. It has a smooth stem. It's currently blooming because it's getting the right amount of humidity and the right amount of light. And it's continuing to grow. And then the last begonia that we will look at is our Rex Begonia Geometry. And the reason that they call her that is because of her beautiful leaves. It has a geometric type shape. She grows from a rhizome, which means her rhizome grows horizontal underneath the soil. She is given the right amount of light because you can see she is currently blooming. And she has blooms that are coming inside the thick inside of her pot here. So guys, I hope that I have helped you to rethink owning begonias. I think that once you understand exactly how your begonia grows, then you'll be able to understand the watering, you'll be able to understand the amount of light that you need to give it, you'll be able to understand the type of humidity that you give it. It is not that difficult. Also, thinking about your soil, making sure that your base is soil-based, and then you begin to add your amendments. You don't want it chunky, but you want it to be moisture retentive. That's very important. So I hope that you enjoyed your visit with me here in the beehive. I hope, once again, like I said, that I helped you to move from just loving and admiring begonias to going out and purchasing yourself maybe one. Start with one, okay? See how well you do with one. And then move on to the next type of begonia. So guys, I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you, all of my new subscribers. I have seen all of you who are now part of the beehive. I am so overjoyed about that. Also, I like your comments and your likes and your thumbs up. Don't forget to turn those notification bells on, because guess what? I will bring you another video Sunday. This one here will be out Thursday. So enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.